are in the Daas Tevunos, page Pay. If you're following the paragraphs, we're still in paragraph, see, Peches 88. And we're dealing with the 5 levels of the interaction between neshama and guf. There are 5 levels. 4 of those levels occur after Tchias HaMesim. Tchias HaMesim will happen by the year 6000. Level 1 interaction between guf and neshama, which is the lowest level, that's the world we live in before Tchias HaMesim. It's the world where the guf and the neshama, the guf wants to do things, the neshama is trying to control it, the guf doesn't want to do things it should do, the neshama is trying to persuade it. The conflict of guf and neshama, that is the world that we live in, and that's the lowest level of the interaction. The neshama is trying its best to work on the guf and elevate it and transform it. But there's only so much it can do, even if it does a great job. Because we just mentioned a couple of minutes ago, the guf has Eitz Hadas Tov V'Ra infection in it, and it must decompose in the ground before the neshama can go back into that guf at Tchias HaMesim, a guf that doesn't have Eitz Hadas Tov V'Ra in it, and then can lift it up, perfect it, and elevate it in ways it couldn't do when the guf was in this world with the infection in it. So that's the lowest level. And then level 2 is the first level after Tchias HaMesim. Level 3 is the second level after Tchias HaMesim. Level 4 is the third level after Tchias HaMesim. Level 5 is the 4th level of Tchias HaMesim. So altogether we have the 1 level before Tchias HaMesim, 4 levels after Tchias HaMesim. We're dealing with 5 levels of interaction guf neshama. Level number 5 is when the neshama finally completely breaks through the quote-unquote dense darkness of the guf and completely perfects the guf to the point we don't even know, as the Ramchal told us, we don't even know what to call the thing anymore. We used to use the word guf, but guf means dense, dark, all these kinds of, we can't even use that word anymore because there's no dense, dark left. Neshama is completely transformed. Okay. The Ramchal taught us the first 4 levels. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. He went in chronological order. The 5th level is the first one you talk about where man's in his quote-unquote perfect state, because that's basically almost where Adam Arishan started, and then things went downhill from there until we're in the situation we are in, which is level 1. Level 1 being the lowest level. And that's where we're up to. Page Pay, at the bottom of the page. And all these levels are then going to be used by the Ramchal so that we can understand how God runs the world. Guf comes from Hastoras Panim. Neshama comes from Ha'oras Panim. Neshama goes into Guf and permeates the whole Guf. Without the Neshama, the eyeballs can't see. Without the Neshama, the ears can't hear. So Neshama permeates the whole Guf and runs the Guf. Not just from a spiritual vantage point, it gives physical life to the guf. You take out the neshama, chas v'sholom, the eyeballs are there, and the eyeballs can't see anything. Same thing is true when we go through the 5 steps later in the Sefer of the analogy to how God runs the world. The state where there's ha'oras panim, the state where there's hastoras panim. And today we look out, and because we have our eyeballs, not Rabbi Akiva eyeballs that we talked about, we see chaos, misery, suffering, what is going on in the world, but percolating inside that hastoras panim, just like percolating inside the guf, there's an neshama running the show, percolating inside that chaos, which is not chaos at all, percolating in that hastoras panim is ha'oras panim, and there are 5 levels to understand that. But by understanding the 5 levels of guf and neshama, we'll understand later the 5 levels of hastoras panim and ha'oras panim. Page Pay. Hey, middle of the page. Rav Friedlander's caption. Level, what he's calling now 5, which is the lowest level. We called it 1 in the chronological order. This is the lowest level. This is an Olam Hazeh. Haguf Sholei Upol B'chol B'chinosov. The body basically is the boss. It is telling you to do things, and the neshama is doing its best to control it. Right? The neshama is doing its best to control, but the guf basically is in the driver's seat, and the neshama is sort of in the seat next to the driver, maybe like a driver's ed course. In a good case, the neshama has its own brake. When you take driver's ed, the student driver has a steering wheel and he has a gas and a brake. The teacher sitting next to him has a brake at his foot, doesn't have a steering wheel, but if something goes crazy with the student driver, the teacher can put his foot on the brake. So in a best case scenario, the guf is the driver. If the guf is going to do something crazy, you hope the neshama is powerful enough to put the foot on the brake. But that's where the neshama basically is in this world, and it's working and working and working on the guf to the extent it can, given the infection of Eitz Hadas Torah. So Madrega Hey, He Sheyeh Haguf Shoylet B'chol B'chinosav. The guf, the physical body, rules. And here the word rule doesn't just mean dense darkness. Here the word rule means it rules. The guf is pushing people to do things they shouldn't do, not do things that they should do. It's taiva time. So you see how poetic the Ramchal is. Anybody remember where these words come from? Ish Soreh Beso, the end of Perek Aleph of Megillas Esther. Haman gave Ahasuerus advice to execute Vashti. Leos kol ish soreh bebeso, and make a rule that every household has to talk the husband's language. Remember, Haman's had all these great ideas of how he was going to make men take over the Medina, and he was going to stop this nonsense with queens rebelling against the kings. How are we going to stop all this nonsense? We're going to cut it off at the first point. We got a queen here that revolted and was chutzpahdik to the king. We have to nip this in the bud. We're going to execute the queen, and now we're going to go into every private home in the entire kingdom, and we're making a law. Every kingdom, every home in the kingdom, the wife is required to speak the husband's mother tongue. Leah is called ish soreh bebeso umedaber kilshon amo. That's the end of the first chapter of Megillas Esther. Every man will rule his house and speak his language. So the Ramchal here is just being poetic. He says, Leos kol ish soreh bebeso. In this world, the guf is the boss. It's soreh bebeso. It is the ruler in the house. And the neshama is just trying to control it. The guf is in complete power. All of the taivas are there, and all the ramifications of the taivas are there. However, the Ramchal says, we need to understand that at this level, human desire and guf is divided into two separate columns. Even though I'm going to show you that there are two different columns to this level of neshama, guf, in this world, it's only considered one level because the guf is in full strength, taiva. But I'm going to show you that there are two columns to taiva. This is because all human desire and all bodily needs can be put in two columns. A person can use his human desires and the fulfillment of his human needs and human desires like an animal. Like most of humanity exists. Man's sexual desire, it can be a very holy thing. And that's what Taharas HaMishpacha and all our laws are meant to do, to lift up the most base desire that's in the world and to say, this is something that is actually holy. There's nothing that a man can't and a woman can't make holy. So the Ramchal says, in this world, when we're dealing with guf and taiva, which is the lowest level of the interaction between guf and neshama, you should understand that guf has two columns to it. There's the guf of taiva, that's like the animal taiva. It's just self-gratification. Or you can do the same act. You can eat, you can get married, you can eat and overeat, and it's just a grubba taiva. Or you can eat to be healthy, to be able to learn, to be able to daven, and as we talk about every day, just a mitzvah to be healthy. Baruch Shalom wants healthy human beings. So a person in this time in Olam Hazeh, where the guf is basically almost in full control, and the neshama is just trying to rein it in, it doesn't mean that the guf is completely in control and you should be an animal. And it doesn't mean that the neshama necessarily has to make you into some kind of hermit. It means the neshama is going to elevate all the taivas that they're done in a holy way. We can get married and have children a holy way. We can eat in a holy way. We can take a tiyul in a holy way. We can take vacations in a holy way. So this is the choice that we make in Olam Hazeh. This is the most basic choice we make in Olam Hazeh. Ke'inyan, as Shlomo HaMelech taught us in Mishlei, B'chol drochecha da'eyu. You should find a way to know God in every path of your life. It is not only in the Beis Medrash and while you're learning that you're studying God. God's study, the study of God. Now, Avodas Hashem is when you're eating and when you're sleeping. The Rambam, and maybe we'll read the Rambam tomorrow. Maybe we'll read the Rambam tomorrow. The Rambam says a person can get Olam Haba when he's sleeping. Now, what am I doing when I'm sleeping? How do I get Olam Haba while I'm sleeping? Not doing anything. I'm not even conscious of what I'm doing. The Rambam says a person goes to sleep with the kavanah, the intention that when he wakes up, his body should be strong and healthy so that he can daven and he can learn and he can go to work and earn a living to support his wife and his family. That means that while he's sleeping, he's getting Olam Haba for his sleep. Everything can be lifted up to the service of Hashem. So we would think, you know what? The biggest service of Hashem, the backbone, I'm using this word for a reason. The backbone of service of Hashem occurs in the Beis Medrash while you're learning Gemara, Rashi, Tosfos. That's the backbone of all Avodas Hashem. Shlomo Melech just taught us here in Mishlei, B'chol drochecha da'eyu. You shall know God in all your paths. Whatever you're doing during the day, you are to be studying God while you're doing it. To which, most appropriately, Rav Friedlander quotes at the bottom of the page a Gemara that everybody should know. You should not only know the Gemara, you should know where the Gemara is. Rav Friedlander quotes at the bottom of page Pei, bracketed footnote 22. I am Brachas Samach Gimel Amud Aleph. The Gemara in Brachas and Daf Samach Gimel Amud Aleph, all the way at the end of Masechta Brachas, the Gemara says the following. On this very pasuk, B'chol drochecha da'eyu, Dorish Bar Kapora. Bar Kapora taught. Bar Kapora was a friend of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. Rabbi Yehuda, who was the author of the Mishnayos. He's a Tana. And Bar Kapora taught us the following. He asked a question. Eizohi Parsha Katana. It was like a riddle. Can someone tell me where is the tiniest little Parsha? Just a couple of words. Tiny Parsha. Shekol Gufei Torah Tluyim Bo, where the entire skeleton of the Torah, the entire backbone that holds everything together. Tell me what pasuk that is. Okay? It's a riddle. We would now go, if I left you now and I said, I'm not answering the riddle, I don't know how you would answer the riddle. You would have to read the whole Torah, the whole Nevi'im, and the whole Ksuvim to find that little pasuk that forms the backbone of the whole Torah. Where would you find it? So Bar Kapora did us a favor. He said, I'm going to tell you the pasuk. There's a phrase that Shlomo HaMelech told us that is Shekol Gufei Torah Teluyin Bo. Kol Gufei Torah. The very guf, the very skeleton of the Torah depends upon this. What pasuk? V'chol d'rachecha d'eyu v'yu yiyasher ochesecha. Learn how to know God from every path you take in life. Nohog b'chol masecha derech kedush v'avoda. Learn how every part of your life, your work day, your eating day, your resting day, everything can be an avodas Hashem. Nobody, with the rare exception, can be learning 24/7. Even if you're in Kailul, you have to eat, you have to sleep, you have to spend time with your wife, you have to spend time with your children. And unfortunately today, it's a whole separate subject. People have got this crazy idea that it's bittul Torah to spend time with your wife and your children. And if you ask your wife, can I go? Can I instead of spending an hour or two with you, are you meichel that I can go back to Kailul? Like, yeah, I want you to be the big Rosh Yeshiva. It's okay. I'm Mavata. You don't have to learn with me. So then they say, yeah, Rabbi Akiva's wife also, she was Mavata. I understand Rabbi Akiva. I understand his wife. We're not Rabbi Akiva's and not Rabbi Akiva's wife. And we're in a matzav today where people have made Torah as Keneged Kulam. But people ask these kind of questions. Is it okay if I go to the Motzoi Shabbos Kailul? No time with the wife and the kids. Is it okay if I go to the Erev Shabbos Kailul? No time with the wife and the kids. Is it okay if I go to the Erev Pesach Kailul? No wife, no time for the wife and the kids. And the wife is more than happy. She says, I'm a vata, I'm a vata. Don't ask for the vitur. Don't ask for the vitur. Give your wife and the children the time they deserve, and the Torah will be learned when it has to be learned. The Chol Drachecha Da'eyu, the Bar Kapara taught us that the very backbone upon which the whole Torah depends is the ability for a person to be normal. And you have a normal day, and you elevate everything in your day to be holy. You can interact with your wife, and you can interact with your children. You can get onto a floor and you can play with your children, and that's a holy thing. It's not just taking out a chumash and psukim with your children. You can take out a game and play with them. It's a holy thing. And there are many, 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 many stories of tzaddikim who took out play games with their children. So this is the backbone of the whole Torah. B'chol drochecha do'eyu. Gemara in Brachas Samach Gimel Amar Aleph. You'll learn how to do everything what we call the Shem Shamayim. I work, earn a living, so I can support my wife and children. I can give tzedakah. All the hours you spend at your workplace are mitzvah. You eat properly to be healthy, a mitzvah. You sleep to be healthy, a mitzvah. For all these things, you're getting Olam Haba. So acting at the lowest level, the guf and the sham are interacting at the lowest level, and the guf wants you to do all kinds of things. Eat this, that. So you can either do these things like an animal, or you can do these things as a Torah person and lift up your physical being into a spiritual being, which is what the neshama is trying to do to the guf to the extent it can before the guf has to decompose the kevin. Everything depends upon the kavanah, the intention by which you're engaging in the act. Like it'll be in the future. Bisman Shenema, the famous prophecy in chapter 36 of Yecheskel, V'nosati lachem leiv basa. The Rebbeinu Shalom is going to take away our heart of stone, our stubbornness, our arrogance that comes from the physical density and darkness of the body. It's not coming from the neshama. The neshama is an edela creation. The stubbornness and the arrogance and these things come from the guf. And the Rebbeinu Shalom told Yecheskel to say that when Mashiach comes, I'm going to remove that heart of stone and I'm going to give them a heart of flesh. This would have happened immediately to Adam Harishon had he told the Nachash, get away from me, I'm not eating from this. he would have been zeicha to all those prophecies about what man would look like after Mashiach comes. It would have not taken 5,781 years to get there. It would have gotten there in that one moment, as the Ramchal has taught us many times in the Sefer. All of the 5,781 years could have been avoided. At that moment, had other Mauritians say, get away from me. God is the objective truth. The truth is, I'm not allowed to eat from that tree because it's poison for me, and I'm not listening to you. And it would have avoided 5,781 years of history. Nevertheless, whether you are eating l'shem shamayim or chas v'sholem eating like a behemoth, either way, it's something that the guf needs. It's guf needs, and you cannot get away from guf needs in this world. That's why God created the world. Now you can't do it. You want to fast and you don't want to eat, you'll die. You don't want to drink. I'm not eating and not drinking. I'm fasting for a month as my avodas Hashem. Day and night I'm fasting. Your avodas Hashem is going to end very quickly when the person dies. That's the way this level of interaction was created. Until Tchias HaMesim, there is a guf. It has to eat, it has to drink, etc. And the choice is how you're going to eat and drink. Ki lechol tzorech, you have to eat, the Ramchal says. Lishtois tzorech, you have to drink. V'yev shebalav hachi, it is impossible to exist unless you eat and drink. Your choice is, will your eating and drinking be a mundane act or will it be a holy act? However, it is still a physical act. Your body is the one that needs the food, not the neshama. And that's the 5 stages of interaction, guf neshama. The lowest level is pre-Tchias HaMesim, which is what we live through. The guf needs food, it needs drink, it must have get married, hopefully a woman to a man to a woman. The destruction of the world that we're watching all around us. All these things need to be done, and they need to be done. Our choice is to make them holy. And this is what it is. The guf is dense and dark right now, but the neshama is doing the best it can, but it can only do the best it can while the infection is there. Then there is the decomposition of the body, a new body, a Tchias HaMesim, and there are 4 higher levels where the neshama is still cleansing the guf from whatever dark and density there is. No Yetzer Hara, that's gone at Mashiach, no Eitz Daas Torah that decomposed in the ground, but there's still a guf, and that has to still be transformed into a different thing that doesn't have density and darkness. Those are the 5 levels. Now, I'm just going to read you the heading of Rav Friedlander for tomorrow's Daas Tevunos, looking at the schedule. Rav Friedlander's caption is Chomish HaMadregos, these 5 levels of interaction between Guf and Neshama, Heim Totzah Mechomish Madregos Shel Hagboros Ha'oros Panav or Hester Panav Makbilos Lahem. The 5 levels of interaction between Guf and Neshama are based upon the 5 different levels of interaction between Ha'oros Panim and Hastoros Panim, and therefore we're going to be able to understand the different periods of time in Jewish history, which he's going to go through, where there's more Ha'oros Panim, less Ha'oros Panim, how is it indicated in history, and what period of time are we living in now, and what can we imagine look forward to. So, Blineda, tomorrow, Tuesday, we back on schedule to start Yeshaya again at 9:30, Shkolim at 10:15, Daas Tevunos at 10:45. That's the Tuesday schedule. Yeshaya at 9:30, Shkolim 10:15, Daas Tevunos 10:45. All those Yidden need Yeshua, Shav Yeshuas, all those Yidden need Refuah, Shav Refuahs, all Yidden need Nechamas, Shav Nechamas, all Yidden need brachas, they should have all the brachas of all the goodness that the Rebbeinu Shalom bestows on the world. Yeshua's Refuahs, Nechamas, brachas only can come through the Rebbeinu Shalom when he wants it, how he wants it, through the Shliach he wants to send it through. There's no other way it can happen. But we still have to make our human ishtadlus. That's the way the Rebbeinu Shalom set up the world. When we understand this, that the Rebbeinu Shalom is the Echad, Yochid, Umiyuchad, and all these things only come through him, we bring about a Gili HaYochid, Gili HaYichid in ourselves, And the more Gili HaYichud work each of us done, the more Gili HaYichud bring into the world until Mashiach comes to finish off that work. From here, Yameinu, and we can go back and dance with Mashiach Tzidkenu to the Beis Hamikdash and bring Kabbanis and give them Machzis HaShekel, all the things that we learned about. Before Shalema, please keep in your tefillis, Before Shalema, to Moshe Zelig, Ben Razel, Refuah Shalema B'Sach Shachal Yisrael, Moshe Zelig, Ben Razel, Refuah Shalema B'Sach Shachal Yisrael. Everybody have a wonderful day. Sei gesund. Take care of yourselves. Use, as I said, use your seichel to do or not to do, to go or not to go. Sei gesund. Have a wonderful day.